Nope, not yet. My pen busily scrawls onto a slowly filling page of my notebook. My other hand remains on the page as a reference I borrowed from the library, marking my spot as my eyes flicker to and fro. As I work, I occasionally mark red circles or underlines under the photocopied sheets of paper that lie on the table in front of me. Wanting a change of scenery from the library and to avoid the distractions of the classroom, I decided to make use of the Shanghai for some quiet study time. It ended up being nice and quiet as I expected, and being able to get coffee while I study is a nice bonus. Hanako may have returned to her normal self since she came out of her room, but I've done quite the opposite. Daily routine may have returned to us, but I feel like I'm a different person. Maybe I'm not. It's only been a few days after all, since I decided I wanted to try and get out of the rut I found myself in after my accident. But I want to change, and now I'm actively working towards that goal. Or at least I'd like to think I am. Yeah, this is impossible. Brute forcing this isn't gonna work. What's more, I have another piece of writing to do after this. I feel that's gonna be no easier. I look my mild surprise to the source of the tentative voice. Yuko stands at the head of the table with a damp towel in hand, clearly having taken the opportunity to clean the tables while no other patrons were around. She looks curious as her eyes as much on my work as on mine. What's the matter?
I was just wondering, what sort of work are you having so much trouble with?
Oh, it's just history. I'm fine with science and math, so I'm trying to get my other subjects up to par. Yuko looks positively delighted at this development. I feel like I chose the right answer on some big quiz show.
Oh, I think I can help you with that. If you don't mind, of course.
I briefly considered turning down the offer in order to not cause her too much trouble, but she looks too excited about this for me to do it. It would be mean to shoot her down like that after such a reaction. If you're willing to help, I'd really appreciate it. She claps her hands together and quickly deposits her towel on the counter before returning and taking a seat across from me. I take my notebook off the top of the textbook and hand it over to her for her to peruse, whatever.
So, you're studying the Edo period?
Yeah, I'm not really much good at this, though. She takes the textbook and reads a few pages from a random section near the middle for a bit. But the aura of enthusiasm she'd been radiating previously is rapidly sapping away. I'm guessing this isn't the kind of history you were expecting?
Unfortunately not. My main area is European history, especially in the classical era. Sorry.
She looks a bit downcast, but as she carefully closes the book and lays it back down on the table, her face perks up again.
Would you like another cup of coffee?
No, yeah, sure. Ugh. We don't need that much coffee, bud. I reach forward to keep my book back as Yuko gets up, takes my mug, and slowly walks to the counter to make another brew. As usual, she's absolutely silent as she does this. Every ounce of her concentration is focused on not tripping over or dropping the plain white mug. I take the opportunity to lay back and relax for a bit, the hum of the coffee machine filling the otherwise quiet air. It's small details like that which make me realize how much I've come to appreciate the little things in life. Peace and quiet of the local town, discipline and order of Yamaku, the green of the trees that were so rare in my home city, the relaxed pace at which the aging residents live their lives. Everything feels so certain. It's comforting. I clear myself, beginning to nod off, when the sound of the mug coming to rest on my table grabs my attention. Seems like I arrived not a moment too soon. Yuko takes a previous seat once again as I pick myself up and bring a hand around the mug to check its temperature. It's just a little too hot to drink right away, so I blow on it a little.
It's a shame you don't like history all that much. I sort of guessed you might be more into science.
How so?
You've nearly read out the science fiction section of the library already. It wasn't hard to notice.
You do have a good point there. Well, what can I say? You've pegged me just about right. You sound like you're really taking an interest in history, though, especially considering how specific you were about it. Do you study in that area or something? Go on digs overseas? She giggles nervously at the thought.
I'd like to visit the Mediterranean sometime, and see the old architecture and art for myself, but I think I could trust myself to handle such delicate things. I'm saving up to formally study it in university, although I also read up on it whenever I have free time outside of work.
So Miku is right about her university aspirations. Considering how she fares as a waitress, a more theatrical path may suit Yuko better. It's nice to hear that she has ambitions, though, considering how hard she works. I nod and take a careful sip of my coffee, but now it's cooled to the right temperature, so I begin to drink while keeping an eye on the book right below, trying to read it at the same time. A few minutes pass quietly, Yuko looking out the window and watching the world go by while I have my coffee and study. A movement catches my eye, and I look up to see Yuko smiling and waving to someone outside. Following her gaze, surprisingly I realize that's someone to be Hanako. She's looking at us from across the side of the street, across from where we are. Her usually all too visibly timidity is largely absent, probably thanks to being so few people around right now. Evidently, she decides to join us, as after a little wave, she gives a quick glance up and down the street and crosses towards the side that the cafe is on. Familiar doorbell of the Shanghai rings out as Hanako enters and makes her way to the table we're sitting at.
Hello.
Good afternoon. Hi, Hanako, what's up?
Nothing. Just going for a walk, since the weather was nice.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I'm glad I decided to study here instead of the library. It's comfortable in here thanks to that. Better than the sometimes quite stuffy library. I look to Yuko, who nods in response.
It's nice. It's just a shame that summer can't last forever. Oh wait, sorry, would you like a drink?
Hanako shakes her head. Thankfully, it's enough to calm Yuko back down.
How are you going with studying?
Okay-ish. Oh, yeah, have you talked with Lily?
I'm interested too. How is she doing? She's enjoying it, I think.
I think that's all we're going to get out of her. Being around Yuko is tensing her up.
It would be so nice to travel to Scotland. Green fields, castles, lovely small towns, men in kilts, interesting history.
I can't say I see the appeal of men in kilts, myself. It does seem like a picturesque place, though. Hey, man. Don't knock it till you try it. As we talk, the jingle of the doorbell rings again. Hanako startled, noticing Yuko's panic expression at the prospect that she might leave customers to wait a handful of seconds due to her shy with us. Yuko gives us a quick bow, then hastily skitters over and greets the new customers, an elderly man and his wife. I watch her for a bit, craning my head around to get a good view. Yuko is staring at me with her one visible eye. Did I just say Yuko? Hanako is staring at me with her one visible eye. She averts her head in embarrassment as I try to make eye contact. I was just thinking that it's nice to have ambitions for the future. Yuko was telling me a little about her university aspirations before.
Oh.
It's a shame. If she wasn't so neurotic and overworked, I think she could be a really happy person. As much as I like to play host to Hanako and entertain her for a bit, I do need to study as well. To be honest, I don't think the distraction from Yuko helped either. Sorry if I'm a bit distracted. I need to try and get this done, otherwise I'm going to flunk the history exams pretty hard. I'm left running my hand through my hair in frustration. That letter needs doing as well once I get back to my dormitory room. I guess we're writing a letter. Hope I have more luck with that than this. Damn.
What with?
Oh, I was gonna write to Hanako. Right now, though, this is more important. All I've done is rattle myself. I can't focus on the work in front of me when my stomach is slowly turning at the prospect of actually attempting to write her back, after all this time. I force myself to concentrate on the book, picking up my pen once I have a quick sip of coffee. After a few seconds, Hanako stops silently watching me and leans back in her seat, relaxing as much as she ever seems to be able to, looking out the window to pass the time. We stay like this for a long time before leaving the dormitories together. I'm surprised she had the patience to wait me out. Yamaku's letter lies on my desk, beside a blank sheet of lined paper and an unused envelope. The tapping of my pen is the only thing to be heard this late at night. Oh boy. As I feared, my second task of the day turns out to be just as difficult as the first, if not harder. It's been so many months since we even saw each other. Even so, I can still remember what she looked like, what she sounded like, what she acted like. By now, though, the little details are beginning to slip away. Okay, what she looked like. I suppose there's a very clear image in our mind of what she looked like on that snowy day. What she sounded like. Okay, we heard her, yeah, sure. What she acted like, we didn't know her at all. When we first were introduced to her through Hisao, he was like, I've only heard her name through, eavesdrops of conversation. I've only heard her speak in eavesdrops of conversation. We barely even met each other, It was like, wow, love at first sight. But now suddenly, we've known her for like ever. But now though, little details begin to slip away. When I first saw her letter, I barely recognized her handwriting at all. We never even saw her handwriting. No, maybe we did. We did get a note from her to go meet with her outside at like 4 p.m., whatever. Even the pink pen she always used was forgotten until her handwriting reminded me of it. I wonder why she didn't use it for the letter. She used to write everything with it. Maybe she thinks it's too immature now. Oh, this isn't pink? I thought this was in pink. I should be thinking of myself, about what I want to communicate to her. My mind can't stop concentrating on her, though. The past we shared before it was taken away so suddenly. The bright and slightly garish decorations suit her sense of aesthetics. Picking up the letter to take a closer look at it, and give a long sigh. This is the last link binding me to my past. Yamaku didn't suddenly cease to exist when she left my hospital room for the last time, but I needed this letter to remind me of that. I had all those feelings neatly filed away. I felt as if I didn't need them, that I could just begin life completely anew. It was easier that way. In the end, I suppose that was a rather naive thing to think. Sooner or later, my past would have caught up to me one way or the other. But what am I supposed to say to her? Thank you for bringing me closure? All the letter did was end the sense of closure I previously felt. Try as I might, I can't write so much as a single word down on the paper in front of me. I can't even think of exactly what I want to say. Putting the letter down on top of the blank sheet, I gather the materials together and file them away in my drawer. The clunk the desk makes as it closes, it makes me momentarily tense in frustration, before I get up to go grab a drink from the vending machine on the first floor. I tried, but I couldn't do it. After all the time that's passed, I still don't know how to deal with you, Hanako. The library, while not humming with activity, is noticeably more busy than usual. Exams are not far away, and that's reflected in the number of students trying to busy their noses in textbooks at the tables around us. I've been studying quite a lot the past few days, just like them, in hopes of doing well in the exams. This also means that Hanako and I have been playing games less, so she's begun studying as well, just to fill in the time. Nevertheless, I find myself forsaken by her on this particular day. The textbook in front of me has remained on the same page for some time. After so much reading on subjects I couldn't care less about if not for the exams, my mind is beginning to wander. I find my eyes flicking over to where Hanako would usually be, just like on days she wasn't in class. Her usual beanbag in the corner of the room is conspicuously unoccupied. It was here that we first really met. I tried to start a conversation with her. She got skittish and eventually bolted from the room altogether. Probably shouldn't smile about it, but it was kind of amusing in hindsight. Nowadays, it's more and more difficult to imagine her doing such a thing. Even with Lily gone, she's been doing well now that she's come out of her room. I want to talk with her, or at least play another game of chess. I'm tired of studying, and it's been a few days since we actually really done anything together. Question of where to find Hanako isn't exactly a difficult one. If she's not in the library, chances are she's either in the tea room for some peace and quiet, or her dormitory room. Deciding to check in that order, I pack up my books and make my way out of the library. Oh boy, here we go. This is a thing. I stretch and give a loud groan as I walk down the hallway. Studying may be frustrating at times, but with the progress I feel I've made, there's also some sense of pride in getting it done. It's a good feeling. There isn't a sound to be heard from inside as I stand in front of the door to Hanako's room. I guess that isn't very indicative of whether she's inside or not, given how quiet she usually is. Still, she wasn't in the room. I try knocking lightly to make my presence known, but am surprised when I find the door unlocked and yielding at my touch. With a small creak, the door opens. It looks like my suspicions were right. Hanako is indeed here. She's sitting at a table with an open book in front of her, but pays it no heed as she keeps looking out the window. She looks utterly oblivious to my presence. With her head thoughtfully resting on her hand, she looks calm and collected. It's almost a shame she can't look more often like this. Smiling a little, I walk up to the table and softly speak to her. Good evening, Hanako. Hanako's head turns a little to see me, but she's still only half there. I put a hand on the table and lower my head to better look at her face, mildly curious about what mood she's in. What's up? She gasped a little, finally acknowledging my presence in the room for the first time. Hanako's blushing really heavily. Her mouth is open just a little, as if paused mid-sentence. More striking, though, is what she's doing. She's looking directly at me. Her eyes are pinned on my own, from such a close distance. I can almost see my reflection in them. They don't turn away, nor move at all. They're absolutely still, just looking into mine. They're dark and given an almost analytical air. Even when reading on subjects she has no interest in, she would appear to be wrapped up in her work to a casual observer. She absorbs information very well, and even now I can feel that. I feel like I'm seeing something behind those eyes that I never saw before, though. I don't know what it is. Hanako? Her lips move just a little, silently mouthing something. She looks like she's on the verge of saying something, but won't say it. But that's the way Hanako is. On the verge of saying something, but never quite doing it. As I look intently into her eyes, I realize something. Everyone has their own thoughts, things they want to say, their own worldview. But I can't work out what Hanako wants to say, and I can't work out what she's thinking. I've never been able to. It's frustrating. It feels like I don't know her at all, despite the time we spent together.
Hisao.
It's only now that I find myself blushing. I've been looking directly into Hanako's face from such a short distance, with absolutely no regard for her, and she's been looking into mine without shirking away. I quickly look away while covering my face with my hand. Hanako does the same. Another awkward silence reigns. I hate these. At first, I accepted them as just being a fact of life around Hanako, but now all they feel like is an affirmation of how little we're able to communicate. Some anger makes its way into the complex mixtures of emotions I'm experiencing right now. I want to bridge that gap between us. Friends shouldn't have to tiptoe around each other like this. I speak, before I can argue myself out of what I'm going to do. My scarring isn't as bad as Hanako's, and I can't possibly compare my life to hers, but I want to show her that she's not alone. Doing this in such a blunt manner might be the only way to get my point across. Hanako, I want to show you something that's not right-click. Because have you seen right-click? Right-click is cool and all, but I want to show you something. I take a deep breath to prepare myself. This could backfire badly. But I feel as if we come close enough for this to be okay. Did we ever close the door? I'm not going to strip naked or anything weird. I'm just going to take off my shirt. Hanako's eyes grow to the size of saucers. Her face is an amusing mixture of curiosity and nervousness as she stands. It helps take the edge off my own nervousness at doing this in front of another person. Slowly, with my entire body feeling tense, I unknot my time and introduce the first of the buttons. I'm trying to mentally block out Hanako to make this easier, but it's not really working. As I work my way down, I expect to hear some sort of protest from her. She remains silent, though, which just makes this feel even stranger. With the last of my shirt unbuttoned, I take a breath and look at her. Hanako's gaze is fixed on my scarring, as expected, and once I nod to say it's okay, she steps forward and tentatively places her hand on the vertical line running down my chest. Okay, apparently I accidentally muted the audio. That was weird. Anyways, Hanako's gaze is fixed on my scarring, as expected, and once I nod to say it's okay, she steps forward and tentatively places her hand on the vertical line running down my chest. Scarring on her hand, a pattern of damaged skin across its surface, contrasts with the single uniform line that makes up mine. Her hand isn't trembling at all, unlike what I predicted. This is the scar from the surgery that followed my heart attack. Surgeons had to cut open my chest to operate on my heart.
I never knew.
Hanako's words are calmer and softer than usual. Soft feeling of her fingers moving from my scar to my breast makes me hesitate a little before continuing on. You're the first person to see this since I left the hospital. Well, you know, technically speaking, Kenji saw it, okay? Maybe he didn't see it, but we were in front of him, and his eyes were open, and we were naked, and he was naked, and, you know, whatever. He saw it. Whatever.
But why are you showing this to me?
I wanted to prove myself that I could do this, that I could accept my past and move on. I want to show that to you as well. She nods. From her reaction, she seems to know how difficult this is for me. More than anything, the scar represents a visual reminder of my condition, a reminder that I'm not normal anymore. Why is your mouth on the side of your face? Yours too, I mean, your lips are technically still in the whatever. That's something that, until now, I tried my hardest to ignore. As the minutes tick by, Hanako's gaze lingers. Her eyes look less focused on my scarring than before. The situation feels a bit different than it previously did, and it makes me slightly uncomfortable. Yeah, we're totally the only ones that's not completely innocent here. I don't know what I'm saying. You get it. Her hand retreats, and I draw my shirt closed and begin to button it up. Her blushing face suddenly returns to its typical tense and timid state as she looks away. The room is completely silent as I fix my shirt and tie, feeling put off after such an unexpectedly intimate moment. So, I guess you're not the only one who's scarred. Hanako smiles a little at the joke, thankfully lightening the atmosphere a bit.
Thank you, Hisao. I think I understand.
I give a long sigh of relief. I really didn't know how she'd take it, but I'm glad everything seems to have worked out as I hoped. Hanako's smile only proves that further. I'm finding the path that I want to follow now, and what Hanako needs to do is find her own. It's something I can't help her with, and it's something that she needs to overcome her past in order to do. Hanako checks her watch. It's getting late by now.
Hisao,
Yeah, I better get going. I'll be thankful for some sleep. It's been a long day after all. Good night, Hanako.
Good night.
Make my way out of her room and into the hallway, remaining silent as I do so. I think both of us have gone through a few emotions today. Oh, but you have not gone through all of them yet, Hisao. I think now I need to put a warning on the video. Possibly. Nope, not yet. Definitely not yet. Heat of the summertime sun beats down on my sweating brow, dabbing with a handkerchief that doesn't help too much in making me any more comfortable. Giving up on the idea of getting more done today, I stop and lean against one of the overpass fences, resting my bag on the ground. Stores in the town below Yamaku are well stocked and offer enough variety for me to get by, but at least an occasional shopping trip to the city is something that really can't be avoided. I've been here a few times now. Since the layout is getting more and more familiar, and the nostalgia from the atmosphere is beginning to wear off. I realized that I've begun to wheeze. I sound like an old man that's overexerting himself, and having to connect that to the fact that I'm the source is a bit disturbing. I put a hand on my chest and concentrate for a bit to make sure I haven't gone far enough to cause any further problems. Thankfully, my heart is acting normally. There's no dull pain, and the beating is regular, albeit fast-paced. As I recover from overdoing things in this kind of heat. I hate my body. It's frustrating to be held back. Even more to be held back by fear of my life being ended, when doing something as simple as walking around the city for a while. As I ponder on my health, I feel my pocket vibrating. By the time my phone's begun to ring, my hand is already fishing for it. A glance at the screen shows a caller number I don't recognize. Strange. Shrugging, I press the button. I just shrugged to myself like, alright, whatever. I press the button to answer the call and bring the phone to my ear. Hello, Hisao Nakai speaking. Sound of a couple short breaths can be heard. No actual speech is forthcoming. Hello?
Hisao?
It's Hanako. Her voice is really easy to place, even if I've never heard it over a phone before. Hanako? Sorry, wasn't expecting you to call. What's up?
If you're not busy, I was wondering if you would like to
Meet up?
Yes, yes, I mean...
She sounds really wound up about this. I can hear muffled voices in the background. And it's about time for afternoon tea. So I guess she'll want me to meet her at the Shanghai or something. That sounds fine. You have the Shanghai?
I'm in the city.
Hanako's here? Alone? That's a surprise. It's a little wonder she's like this, if she's surrounded by people and entirely by herself. If that works out well, I'm just wandering around there now. Where are you? Hanako manages to stammer out a street name, address, and some basic directions to where she is. Luckily, it's not too far, so I agree to see her soon before hanging up, whatever. I look up to the sky. The summer heat is beating down. This is the first time Hanako's asked for us to do something together beyond a simple board game. And the first time, at least since I've known her, that she's come to the city by herself. Maybe this means that Lily was right. Well, of course she was right. She's Lily. She's right about everything. By the time I manage to stagger up to the cafe where Hanako is, wow. This one again. I started to wheeze again. I'm sweating so much that I could feel like a melting popsicle. I can barely hold the bag in my hand. I need to sit down. Badly. Tables outside are all occupied by busily chatting couples and girls gossiping between themselves. The contrast between the different age groups and fashions of people here and from the town near Yamaku is striking. I scan over the people sitting at the tables, but I can't see Hanako. She did say she was sitting outside, so I must just be missing her. Not difficult given how small she usually tries to make a presence. Look around again more slowly this time, taking particular care to see if I can find Hanako's hat. It's pretty distinctive, and I'd be very surprised if she wasn't wearing it. There she is, sure enough. Her head is kept low, and the table she's sitting at is right beside the building in an inconspicuous corner. I look up to where she is and make sure I have her attention before I sit. Let's take a rare scare. She notices me and gives a small wave as I arrive to her table.
Are you feeling okay?
I try my best to laugh it off, but doing so just makes me more out of breath. Not very fit these days. Don't mind me. Hanako nods, but looks a little put off. Now I can get a good look at her face. Something about her seems a bit different. I'm not sure if my eyes are playing tricks on me, but she looks kind of nice. Her eyes move upwards to look at me before flicking down again. I think this is going to be a rather quiet meeting, but a waitress thankfully arrives. It sets a cup of tea in front of Hanako. Wow, you already ordered. Hanako almost automatically turns slightly away and lowers the side of her head. It's amazingly practiced motion, and it does a good job of its intended purpose, hiding her scars from someone who's leaning in close. Her right arm is still laying on the table, though, with the scarring at the back of her hand quite visible. It catches the waitress's eye, and I move to quickly distract her. Excuse me, may I place an order? Waitress nods and gives you a couple seconds to look at the menu. Could I have a mango smoothie, please? She gives a nod before almost enthusiastic bouncing inside. Everything is so different in the city, in more ways than one. Hanako looks back up towards me, and adjusts her hat, though. If she knows the waitress is staring at her scars, she doesn't show it.
Not coffee?
I think I'd die from this heat if I had something like coffee right now. Resting my head in my hand, I look to my quiet companion. She seems taken aback. A very unexpected reaction to my lame joke. An unwelcome emotion bubbles up inside me as I realize the reason why. Unlike most in Yamaku, indeed, unlike anyone there that I'm aware of, my condition goes beyond limiting the activities I can do. Though to be more precise, breaching those limits could have much more grave consequences. Thankfully, something that's very rarely come up since I entered Yamaku. Maybe in another life we're different. I thought it was so rare that Hanako and Lily might not think of it at all, but it turns out that I was wrong. Hanako silently drinks her tea while I wait for my drink. confirming that it's the right temperature with a small sip before she begins in earnest. I feel guilty for being the cause of the uncomfortable silence, since in the past I've been kind of hard on Hanako for those. Eventually the same waitress as before bounces up, handing me my drink. I gather the change from my pocket and drop it into her waiting hand, before she goes off to attend to another customer. My eyes linger on her as she walks away.
Do you think that she looks pretty?
Hanako's following my gaze, her eyes taking in the waitress that served us. I can feel my blood slowly going to my cheeks as I rest my smoothie back on the table. Nah, can't really see that I'm into that look. She just looked like a lot like an old friend I knew before my heart attack.
Did you have many friends?
I had a few in my previous school, though I wouldn't say a lot. 4 of us just hung around together after school and stuff.
Do you still talk to them?
I shake my head. No. Gradually lost contact while I was stuck in the hospital.
You're not saddened by that? Or angry?
Hanako looks genuinely surprised. I guess that's the right reaction. Well, life did move on for them while I was stuck in the ward. I was pretty sore about it at the time, but now it's just a bunch of nice memories. Besides, once I came to Yamaku, I found new friends as well. It's quite a whitewash of my feelings were back then. I went through some dark times during my stay at the hospital, and I am really glad that Hanako and Lily were around to help me after I left it. Hey! Misha and Shizune helped too, and Emi and Rin, even if we're not the bestest of friends anymore. Hanako blushes as we both get down to enjoying our drinks. She seems to have calmed down a bit since I arrived, and I've started to feel a little better now that I've had the chance to rest a bit. So this is getting to be a nice outing already. So I don't think those were tears on her face. I think that was just her blush shining. She just does that. Hanako just has a shining face. Because precious, I don't know. Even if she's calmer than before, though, she's still fidgeting a bit. She runs her hand down one of her bangs as I try to think of something to say. That's right, I was going to ask. Hanako tilts her head quizzically. I didn't know you had a mobile phone. How'd you get my number?
Lily gave it to me.
I should have guessed. You know, you could have just asked. I'd have given it to you. Want to exchange email addresses? Hanako nods, setting her drink down and fishing out a phone from her pocket as I do the same. It's surprisingly the same model as mine. Pink, though. Nice phone. She looks at me with a curious expression, before noticing my phone and giggling. It's one of the very few times I've seen Hanako let her guard down enough to do such a thing.
I didn't pick it out myself, though.
Oh?
It was a present from Lily. I never really needed a phone, and I couldn't afford one. She bought me one for Christmas, though, saying that we could use it to keep in touch.
See each other basically every day anyway, both in and out of school. Then again, Lily does have her class representative duties, and other friends that she talks with. It'd probably help for situations like this too, when she's gone away for a while. Okay, this is gonna sound kind of rude, maybe, I don't know. How would someone who's blind work a phone? Because you enter the number, Because in order to call someone, at least with these phones, you either have to enter the number yourself. Well, I'm sorry if you just heard my stomach growling. I don't know why the hell I just did that. I'm not hungry. Either you have to enter the number in every time you call, or you have to put it in the phone beforehand, and then you, I guess, maybe just hit speed dial. Like, you just press 1 and then it calls the first person you have, second, etc. But if you're blind, how would you do that? I mean, I guess you could have someone put in their numbers beforehand, but Lily doesn't seem like the kind of person that would do that, so I don't know. Maybe Akira? No, they don't really talk that much, do they? They live apart, so I don't know who Lily would have put in our numbers. I don't know. Just confusing. Lily's a very special person to you, isn't she?
She is. I love her very much.
Hanako looks down and smiles as she thinks of her. None of my friendships were as deep as theirs, and I have to admit myself, I'm a little jealous of their relationship. They are like sisters. We tell each other our email addresses and thumb it down into our respective phones, and I get Hanako's number from earlier and put it into my contacts list.
Done. That makes 3 now.
3?
Lily, Akira, and you.
Ah, Akira. She's an, interesting person, isn't she?
She is. She's also really nice, though. Her suit makes her look a bit cool.
I'm a little surprised you know each other well, with her job taking up so much of her time. Hanako looks down a little and takes another sip of her drink. If I wasn't looking intently at her face, I'd miss the small smile perched on it. I guess when she knows so few people, those she knows must mean a lot to her.
How many do you have?
Me? About 9 or 10. I hesitate to go into them for fear of rubbing in the fact that Hanako doesn't have parents. or apparently even close relatives. Two of those are Shizune and Misha too, which is another can of worms. Imagine that Lily would have more than both of us put together, probably. Hanako gives a childish giggle, and I can't help smiling. It's a good feeling that she's gotten this comfortable around me. At times like this, I feel like I'm getting close to talking to her true self. Do you mind if I ask something that I've been wondering? Hanako shakes her head as she takes the last sip of her tea, finishing it off. You don't seem very jealous of Lily having lots of friends. Don't you want to make some more friends yourself? And want to get to know some of hers?
I'm not jealous. I don't like people. So I don't mind not having friends.
That's really not the answer I was expecting. She doesn't look fearful or sad as she says this, but rather quite serious. I mean, I'll be honest, I have no friends. I mean, okay, I have, if I think, I probably have 3 friends. 3 actual friends that I sometimes talk to. Sometimes. Not very often though, so, you know. I'm an isolated person, but I like it that way, so, you know, whatever. Which is also why you'd probably never see multiplayer on this channel. Sorry, I don't have many people to talk to that play the same games I do. I mean, look at this. How many people do you know that play this and upload? Well, a lot of people, actually, but that's not the point. Hanako rubs her arm awkwardly, having taken my quietness as a reason to continue. I'm really not sure what I should say, so I end up giving her my attention in silence.
In middle school, I got bullied a lot. I was called names and got excluded from work groups and sports teams. There were worse things too.
And that's what made you not like other people? She shakes her head.
That was elementary school.
I feel bad for bringing this up now. Adults have enough problems dealing with Hanako scarring. Children would be all the worse. I had assumed that the way she tried to make her presence not felt was just to avoid people staring at her, or because she was afraid of them. Certainly not because she generally didn't want to interact with them in the first place as well. I noticed the condensation from my neglected smoothie forming a little putty around the bottom of my cup, so I take the opportunity to finish it off. As I drink, she begins to fiddle with her phone. It looks like she's remembered the people around her again and begun to tense up. It's not exactly a cheap phone. I had to save up for quite a while to afford one when I got mine. If Lily went to a private school, she probably wouldn't have too much trouble getting one as a present, though. Watching her fiddle with it gives me an idea. Hey, Hanako, wait for me. I'll be right back. I put the now empty cup down, slip my phone into my pocket, and begin to move off, carefully stepping around the bag I placed beside my feet. Thankfully, sitting around while talking to Hanako has helped me feel a lot better than before.
Wait, what? Where are you going?
Just stay here. I'll be back in a bit. Okay. As much as I'd like to have jogged back now, I know full well that I couldn't. I ended up walking back to the cafe, little blue bag in my right hand. Hanako noticed me quickly, looking about as confused as she did when I left. I deposited the diminutive bag in front of her and sit back down.
Is this...
It's for you. You can open it.
But...
Go on. She looks very unsure about it, but eventually gives in. Slowly opens the bag and picks its contents out. A silver chain phone strap dangles from her fingers, ending in a delicate flower. It isn't exactly a masterwork of jewelry, but it's about as much as I could afford. Hanako's eyes light up when she looks at it. It's the kind of action I was hoping for. The summer sun's light glints off the silver as it twists to and fro a little. It's not too ostentatious. What is with you and your big words, Hisao? But still looks a little charming. I think it suits her well. Hanako lowers the phone strap to the table and looks at me once more.
But it's not Christmas or my birthday.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. I just thought it might be nice to have something to decorate your phone with.
I don't have anything to give you.
I told you, it's fine. Friends can give things to each other like this sometimes, right?
Friends.
Hanako lowers her face so much that I can't see her expression. She eventually nods before taking her phone and fiddling with the strap to attach it properly. She looks to me and smiles. She holds up her phone, now adorned with a little flower.
Thank you, Hisao.
Her smile proves infectious. Out of the corner of my eye, I notice a couple getting up and leaving. That reminds me that the bus back to town below Yamaku will be coming soon. I guess I'd better be coming if I want to go catch that next bus back to town. You coming as well?
Yes.
So, how long have we both been in town? Because wouldn't we have both been on the same bus unless I was here hours before you or you were here hours before me? I don't know how long the bus is before it, shows up again. She hastily nods before carefully putting her phone back into her pocket and getting out of her chair. I do the same and pick up the bag I left beside me on the way out. We walk side by side as we make our way to the bus station, exchanging no words between us. Hanako's gaze is firmly locked ahead of her, though she looks very happy with herself. I'm not sure what I should say to her, but I'm also not sure that I need to say anything. The fact that Hanako is happy, and happy because of me, is enough to make the load on my arm feel light as a feather.